Another example from a totally different area, I mentioned that there is a fairly wide use of the transformative approach to mediation in the family area, which includes not just cases involving divorce and parenting disputes about children, but also elder conflict, which is an increasingly difficult area. We actually have a very serious commitment here at Hofstra to teaching about the legal system in relation to elder care issues and in the context of healthcare, assisted living, end-of-life decisions. And there are lots of conflicts involved around that stage of life, conflicts between elderly people and their caregivers, whether those are professional caregivers or adult children or both. One of the cases described, this is actually in our new book, the source book, in the chapter on elder mediation, which was written by a woman who developed a training curriculum for elder mediation for the entire state of Pennsylvania. She describes a couple of cases in that chapter. One of them is between the caregiving agency and an elderly couple who have basically picked themselves up and moved out of an assisted living facility because they couldn't stand it anymore. And they moved back home. And both the facility, which feels a professional responsibility to follow up with them, and their adult children are pretty upset about this because they're afraid of what's going to happen if they're at home by themselves. So this mediation is among all of those folks, the two representatives from the caregiving facility, and two adult children, and the elderly couple. And again, the value of this process is, especially, it's a good example in elder conflict. There's a tendency, I say this advisedly as I'm getting older, for caregivers to assume that the elderly don't necessarily have a clear idea of their own best interests. And as those sort of intrusive decisions are made that take control away, that take decisions away from people as they age, this creates an increased sense of helplessness and marginalization and diminishment on the part of the elderly. In a process that sort of simply steps in and tries to hammer out an agreement, it's entirely likely that that sense of diminishment will just be reinforced by having another expert to step in and say, all right, well, here's what you should do. Instead, in the transformative process, in this mediation conducted by the author of this chapter, the couple has a chance to explain what's bothering them and what they will and will not accept and why. Whether anybody agrees with their reasons or not, this is how they feel about their lives. They want to live in their homes. They don't want a lot of intrusion into their home. And therefore, whatever kinds of care is going to be provided, it has to fit into their conception of who they are and what they believe that they need. In this process, that finally gets across to the professionals and to the children who understand we can't help our parents by forcing things on them. We can't help these clients by forcing things on them. We have to find a way to work with them. And as a result of that, of the elderly couple being helped to say that clearly, and the children and the professionals being helped to hear that, having the opportunity to hear it and realize, oh, that's what they're saying. That makes sense, at least from their point of view. We need to work with that. So they actually do wind up coming up with having a conversation that allows all of that to come out. And then the result is, as the story concludes, in the development of a care plan organized by the one staff person at the agency that the elderly couple trusted, and includes a combination of support by the agency, supplemented by the adult children. So that settlement is not just a kind of new, tailored plan that fits the needs of this couple. It's also the question of how was it reached. It was not imposed by somebody else. It was the result of a conversation where this couple had the chance really to stand up for themselves, and where they also had a chance to understand why their children and the professionals wanted to help them. But the result of the conversation being conducted in this fashion means that this is a plan that's going to work. This is a plan that's going to hold up and that's going to be sustainable. That gives sort of concrete meaning to the idea of sustainability. Everybody knows family conflict has a lot of potential to have recidivism, has a chance to come back up again and again and again. And anybody with elderly parents who has been through that knows that that's sort of the hardest piece, to find something that sticks and that lasts. The way it lasts is because of the way the conversation unfolds toward that ultimate solution, as opposed to the solution itself. So that's another good example of what this model has to offer.